All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Age of Extinction SLOG, finishing off the look at the Age of Extinction Dinobots that I own anyway. And yeah, his name is SLOG. I mean, clearly this is meant to be sludge, but they just didn't have the trademark at the time, so they just used the name SLOG, which was originally one of the Pretender monsters from G1, but yeah, either way, there were two versions of this, guys, the regular retail release and an Amazon exclusive version. This is the Amazon one, which is, a little bit more in G1 colors, whereas the original release was pretty much just in like regular grays. It didn't have any of the yellows, or it had like a little bit of the red, but not quite as much. But yeah, no, he turns into a pretty nice Brachiosaurus here. Obviously, it's got more like spikes and stuff than I would probably prefer to, but I think of the dinosaur modes, this is one of the better looking ones. I do think that he looks cool, even if it doesn't really look like, what I would want a, G1 sludge to look like. But yeah, no, pretty decent mode here. He kind of reminds me a lot of Dinosaurs, that one, toy line with all the kind of like transforming sort of skeletal dinosaurs. I thought this definitely feels like that was like an inspiration for this guy's design, but knowing the Michael Bay designs, probably not, but in terms of articulation, the jaw can open and close here. It is like a softer piece of plastic, so it does have a tendency to get like stuck sometimes, but it can open about that much. He's got a hinge at the head here, a swivel at this section of the neck, a hinge at this section of the neck. Let's see, the front legs will become the robot mode arms, so they can rotate forward and back here at the hip, I guess. They kind of bump into stuff and then go out to the side only about that far. It's got a thigh swivel. The knee can bend about that far that way and only about that far. Well, it can bend further this way if you like extend this bit out, which is like really meant for robot mode, but it's such a like subtle piece of transformation. But I feel like that works still for like an articulation point. And then similarly for robot mode, you can kind of like fold these down, which I find to be actually pretty helpful because you can like bring his foot forward and then kind of bring it down to sort of like extend his leg out. So you can actually get some nice subtle posability in the front legs here. And then the back legs are just on a hinge at the knee there. The hips are pretty much locked into place in this mode since they're attached to a lot of the stuff in the body here. He comes with a bunch of weapons, none of which I really like. He comes with these giant like lances and these like weird sort of like double missiles. And in terms of storage for these, you're just supposed to plug them onto the the shoulders, hips, whatever you'd want to call them here, so they sit like that. I guess probably the other way, right? So they don't bump into the spikes there. You can do them either way, but I think it looks kind of stupid regardless. And then they have these like specialized little sticky outy bits, which are, I think, kind of stupid looking. But you basically want to take the handle here of these weapons and you like feed it through this. These can rotate. They're just on mushroom pegs. Feed it through there like that, and then you have these like sit over his shoulder. Something here is not quite tabbed in quite right. There we go. Which I think it looks, again, kind of dumb, and I really dislike that he's got like these extra bits that just kind of stick out and break the dinosaur mode just for the sake of like weapon storage of these things, which still looks pretty stupid. But if you want a cool sort of like armored up Brachiosaurus, like I guess he does have that functionality. Personally, I mean, I just leave the weapons off to the side. I don't really like any of these weapons. I just leave him without. And also, because these bits are on mushroom pegs, you can sort of just like work them off the joint, which is nice because I feel like his dinosaur mode looks just like a lot cleaner without those. But to each their own. That's how it's supposed to work. I honestly, until I started recording, I completely forgot that he even had those sections. Then I was looking at that and I was like, that looks like there used to be something there, because it's been so long since I just took these bits off. So I fished them out of my my parts storage and put them back on just for the sake of the review. But personally, that's how I choose to display him. I just think he looks a lot cleaner that way. Like, dude's got enough random spikes sticking out as is. So yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, just for a standard one, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe. Here he is with Studio Series Sludge, so you can see what he looks like with a different version of basically the same character. And then here he is with Snarl and Scorn, the other two Age of Extinction Dinobots that I own, and they're kind of a cool trio. I'm not really super in love with any of the three of them. Again, I said this before, but like I probably wouldn't have bought these two if I weren't like desperate for G1 Dinobots at the time that they came out, because it's like, oh yeah, what were you? How would you get a sludge like? The G1 Colors version of Age of Extinction Slug was the closest thing we had to a Generations version of Sludge at the time. So they don't really fit with that anymore. So now that we've living nice with all the new G1 or new versions of G1 characters, but product of the time. But yeah, to get onto transformation, first thing you want to do is take the whole back section here and just split it. Now these sections are these sections specifically with the spikes are kind of a soft plastic. They're painted silver, so it's just something to be wary of. But like obviously they couldn't have like the super long spikes. Oh, these spikes are hard plastic, so I don't know. But either way, you just undo those. You want to split the tail, and then he's got kind of a weird leg transformation. Basically, you want to take this whole half and flip it around like this and rotate it down on the thigh like that. And do that on both sides here so that you can take the tail and then bring it onto the side of the leg here and then wrap it around, and this kind of sits crisscrossed on the waist here, which is a neat thing, but it does kind of, ultimately just get in the way in the end. But it's a neat way to accomplish that, I guess. And then you want to take the feet and just rotate them down here. You want to take this like knee pad piece, which is in the back of the leg here, which can kind of difficult to actually get at. You basically have to rotate the leg down while you do it. And then you want to rotate this section down and then bring this section of the like body around. And then it's hard to see on the chrome pieces, but there's a slot right there, which will correspond to the tab on this knee pad piece, which can just plug in like that. And you want to make sure that leg stays straight in there. And then you're supposed to take this section and then take these tabs that were used to like tab into each other for the soft bits and just tab them over this piece here, which doesn't really work. The angles aren't quite right. Like it wants to kind of like lean down like this. So these just kind of end up floating on his legs. I seem to remember this like used to work a little bit better, but certainly doesn't now. Like there's just no grip there at all, which is unfortunate. But yeah, and then you want to rotate them around to the thigh swivel so that the spikes stick out on the leg, and then just do that on both sides here. Again, some kind of neat geometry and transformation steps here, but I don't know if it's really worth it for the overall aesthetic that the legs end up having. But that's kind of the Michael Bay Transformers in a nutshell. It's like, oh yeah, sometimes they have some neat tricks to accomplish the stupid looks that the movie figures tend to have, in my opinion anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much his legs all done. And then for the upper body here, there's a few things you kind of have to do at once. You want to take this piece, which again is also that soft rubbery plastic, and you need to fold that up, which again, because it's that soft rubber, like sometimes the hinge gets a little stuck, but you want to rotate that up with the head. And then you sort of bring this piece around so that you also have the clearance to untab these sections here and then fold these red pieces over. So these kind of have to happen at once so that this piece can get around and then these pieces can close up without this being in the way. But that's basically how you want it. And then you take the whole waist joint here. It's on a double hinge and it will collapse down and tab in. And then this piece just kind of ends up floating on the back. You can take the dinosaur head and just kind of fold it up onto his backpack here. And then these shoulder pieces, separate from the red pieces, will just hinge down and fold in like that. And then you kind of bring down his arms, push in the heels of the dinosaur mode to flip out his hands, and then rotate the forearms so the hands are facing forward. And yeah, there we have Age of Extinction Slog in his robot mode. And yeah, generally I think he's got a fairly cool aesthetic. Obviously like the movie designs in general are not my favorite, with all the like spikes and stuff sticking out of the place, and the Dinobots specifically having this like weird night vibe I was never totally into. But if you're into the aesthetic, this is what he looks like. I like the head sculpt. I think it looks cool. Again, it's not something I'd want for like a G1 Sludge, but just as a different sort of character, a different take, like he's kind of neat looking. Now he does unfortunately have the gorilla elbows again, which is just purely completely unnecessary. Like they could have just sculpted the hands to be rotated that way, but I don't know. It was just something going around at the time where I guess I don't know why the designers at Hasbro always thought that this was the better way to do the elbows, but and then technically you're supposed to like take these sections and kind of fold them down like this to be like these like gauntlets, which it looks kind of cool, but it's not super necessary. But yeah, in terms of articulation, the head is on a ball joint, gets a pretty decent range there. You can look pretty much straight up, and then can rotate back and forth, though his the bits on the bottom of his head do kind of run into the hinges at a certain point. The shoulders can rotate around like that and fold out to the side. There's a little bit of wiggle room on these shoulder pads to accommodate that, but not like a ton. He's got a bicep swivel, 90 degrees, well, not even, a little less than 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. And again, he does have that sort of gorilla arms, curling arm thing going on, which is just so frustrating because I would have liked this guy a lot better if the arms were just facing this direction with the hands facing that way, but whatever. Nothing at the hands. He's got a waist joint. Hips can go forward and back and out to the side, but you are kind of working with the tail kind of bumping into things, and it's a chrome piece too, so it's like a little risky for the chrome scratching off. I mean, it wasn't chrome on the original release of this guy. That was exclusive to the Amazon version, but still worth mentioning. He's got a thigh swivel, a little under 90 degrees of bend at the knee there, and then the feet can tilt forward and back, and they have that slight A stance sculpted into them, but no actual ankle tilt. And then I guess technically you could kind of get an ab crunch out of the body section here, though it is sort of supposed to stay tabbed into place. So yeah, he's got decent articulation, but like the whole thing with the hips doesn't really work with these bits folded off to the side. I mean, he does have this waist skirt piece which can fold up and down a little bit too, and it is that soft rubber, but honestly it doesn't really get in the way as much as these do. And then he's got the whole thing with his arms where they gorilla arms. So aside from two major flaws, he's got fine, I guess, articulation, but those do kind of ultimately ruin it. But yeah, in terms of his weapons, we can bring all of his junk back on here. Obviously, these bits are supposed to just stay attached on the back here, which, works as an extra place for storage. But again, I think they look so dumb in dinosaur mode that I just kind of take them off, but that's where they're supposed to be. And then obviously you can give him his big lances here, which do look kind of cool. I just kind of hate this like extra piece that they have sticking out of it just for the sake of like giving them that like dumb looking weaponized mode in dinosaur mode. Like, I think that these would look a lot cleaner if they were just like there with like a peg on there so they could just like plug into the shoulders or something, which again, still wouldn't be weapon storage that I prefer, but it's a little bit better. And then these kind of just, I guess, are supposed to stay on the shoulders. I just think they look better without it. But that's what that looks like. And then in terms of storage, those just kind of stay there. And then these, if you have these bits still attached, can just kind of peg on in the same way. But yeah, again, I don't really like his weapons. I personally just kind of choose to leave him without them. Like, he's already got the like dinosaur gauntlets to punch around if he needs. I don't think he needs all this extra stuff personally, but yeah, that's how it's supposed to work. In terms of comparisons in this mode, just for the standard one, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe, so you can see what he looks like with an average size Modern Deluxe. Here he is with Studio Series Sludge, obviously a lot bigger, the difference between a Leader and a Voyager there, but that's what the two of them look like together. Still, even in the G1 colors, doesn't really look a whole lot like G1 Sludge, obviously. And then here he is again with Snarl and Scorn, so you can see what he looks like with my other Age of Extinction Dinobots. And yeah, like I said, the trio of them I feel like look kind of cool, but I tend to keep them in dinosaur mode just because I think that's their better modes, honestly, because they're a little bit more cohesive rather than like, having all of the dinosaur bits just kind of exploded out all over the place. I mean, Scorn is fine. I like his robot mode aesthetic. It's just his hips that are a pain and the reason I don't display him in robot mode. But yeah, that's what the three of them look like together. There were other ones I was never really interested in Slug or Slag, whatever you want to call him, or Grimlock. I just thought that those looked kind of bad. Or the Velociraptor one Slash I was not super into either. So these were the only ones that I was really interested in, and even then I'm like, I'm not really in love with any of these guys. It's just I got them at the time because I was starved for Dinobots, and For better or for worse, now I have them. I do like him in dinosaur mode, but they're hugely flawed figures in my opinion. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to them. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Age of Extinction Amazon exclusive SLOG.